Hi there YouTube, Extreme Trains here. Nah, I'm just kidding. He's actually cool, unlike me. But yeah, it's me. You know my name already. So, on the 4th of July, instead of spending money on fireworks, I spent my money on toy trains for babies. Was it worth it? Well, what do you think? I'm not gonna spend my money on double the price they're worth in stores on eBay. Real talk though, if any of you guys are living in the States and you're paying this money for these toys that only cost less than half of the price that they're up for on eBay, just go to your local Walmart, or if they don't have them there at the moment, then just wait a few days for them to restock. I'm sure they'll have them there. You're better off waiting instead of paying double or triple the price they're worth on eBay. Come on, baby. Anyway, on to these guys. I got these from my local Walmart, which is about 15-20 minute driving distance from my house, but that isn't important. I got these on the 4th of July. I initially checked for them on the 1st, and they didn't have them, so wait a few days, check back on the 4th, and thankfully they did. And glad that I checked there on that day also, because they only had one Flying Scotsman left. They had doubles of Thomas, James, and Gordon, but they only had one Scotsman, so I'm glad that I showed up there while they still had one left. Now, even if they weren't there by the 4th, I was still going to wait and buy them for when they did get into stores, because I ain't gonna pay double or triple the price that they're worth on eBay. And now I can understand for people in like the UK or anywhere else where they don't have the 3-packs. The UK aren't gonna get like any of the 3-packs apart from Scotsman. But like if you're in the States and you're paying the same price for one of these that, you know, if you're in the States and you're paying the price for one of these that costs the same amount for just paying for all 4 of these in stores, then just wait. You're like, or check your local Walmart, because they probably have them there by now, depending what state country you live. Wait, no, the United States is a country. What state you live in, and if they don't, just wait, because you're better off waiting for these to be in stores than paying the same amount that it costs for all 4 of these for just one of them. But yeah, so now this video is going to be a bit different. I'm going to actually skip the unboxing proportion just because I don't want to spend extra time since I'm going to be doing all 4 of these. I'm just going to skip straight to the review part. I'm already wasting enough time with me rambling. But yeah, that's why this is just a regular review and not an unboxing review. So yeah, and I'll get these unboxed. One more thing I would like to say is that this was my first time like getting anything Thomas related in stores since 2022 with the new wooden railway line. And this is my first time buying anything Thomas related from Walmart in God knows how long. I can't remember when the last time I bought anything from, I bought a Thomas related thing from Walmart was, but I'm not going to spend the time to think it through. But anyways, wasted enough time. Let's get these 4 out of their packaging. Real quick though, I'll take a quick look at the packaging. Really nothing special on the back, so I'm not going to show it. Got the 80th anniversary logo, and then promos on each of them. Very nice. Alright, now time to actually unbox these. Shouldn't take too long.
And here they are, the boys, in all their thick and chunky glory.
So, each of these came with a pamphlet on how to unscrew the chassis and put the battery in, and yada yada yada, nothing new. Interesting that they're still using the Trackmaster Revolution design, but, you know, it still works the same way, so makes sense. But it doesn't really matter for me anyway, since after this, I'm gonna take the motors out and make them free roll, because I like touching toys, so don't take that the wrong way. But I just like having them free roll, because, you know, I just like moving them along. But yeah, so, the boys. We got Thomas, Chunky, Gay, and Double the Fun. We're gonna review each of them in the order that they're in, him to him, and yeah, let's start off with the best character in the franchise. And I'm not just saying that because he's the main character. I'm saying that because, well, isn't it obvious? Maybe. I don't know. You should know by now that he's my favorite. So here's Thomas in the Troublesome Trucks, and what can I say that hasn't already been said? He's like, Thomas is like almost perfect in my opinion. His proportions are really freaking good. Yeah, very nice. So, there's the face. So, very nice face, by the way. So it's clearly a CGI mold. However, they gave him eyebrows more akin to the model series. Now, the face itself kind of resembles one of the faces from Series 1. However, after checking, the eyebrows resemble more of his grinning face mask, specifically the one from like Series 6 to 8 or 9, the one that was mainly used in a lot of those hit promo images, as you're seeing right now. I definitely would have preferred for more CGI well, eyebrows, I don't really mind. I just I much prefer how his face looks in that launch and barrel set. I was considering buying that when it was up on Amazon, but I optioned not to. I might, I don't know. It's just been like a long time since I've actually purchased a Thomas set. The last time I got one was that Lionel set back in 2018. So yeah, I don't know. I might get it, might not. I wouldn't mind if like someone just gave me the Thomas from that set though. But yeah, overall, the face is nice, and it's definitely better to what came before. So here's the original Motorized or Trackmaster Revolution face, and I just don't know why. A lot of like the early Revolution faces sucked. Like, they were just terrible. And like, this is really like eyebrows aside, this is really the first time that they've actually like perfected the mold for the CGI Thomas face, because, well, there was that 2010 Trackmaster set Thomas that had a pretty good looking face, but it still wasn't perfect. And my problem with that one is the fact that his teeth didn't have any depth to it; they were just flat. And then the one that came like in 2012, that he just had a fat face. That was pretty bad. And then with Trackmaster 2, they just made the face even fatter. And yeah, my camera keeps on going out of focus. So yeah, much better face indeed. About perfect. He has a gray running board, which is something very interesting about these classic packs. Now, of course, they've done this before. They haven't done this sort of thing though since like the Hit Toys phase, with like a couple of their engines had gray running boards. Then a couple of like variations of characters, like the Flip Face engines or Busy Bee James, they had gray running boards too. So yeah, very interesting to see them do this kind of thing again, even though they're not fully painted, kind of similar to like Aunton's Go Gordon in a way. But yeah, very I don't know what word to use, but I like the fact that they're doing it again. Yeah. Quick question. How many people actually know that the running boards for characters like Thomas, Gordon, James, and Percy are gray and not white? I feel like a lot of people have convinced themselves that they are white when they're clearly gray. The only things that are white are the lamps. I mean, they're not white on these models, but that doesn't really matter. Yeah, tell me in the comments below if you actually knew that they were gray or white, but that doesn't really matter right now. Lamp arms are unpainted, but that doesn't really matter. A lot of things are left unpainted on this that I'm gonna go back to paint later. So yeah, there's his cab window, cab windows. The details are still stickers. I initially thought they were going to be print-ons based on those CGI renders. Unfortunately, they aren't, but it's whatever. like I'm gonna be messing with the stickers anyways. So here's the side. Thomas has his weathering on him. Now, some have said that it looks like water. However, I have two statements to debunk that theory. One, Mattel has done water details before, and it looks nothing like this. And two, Percy has the same weathering detail on his model, and it's green. So, it can't be water. It's definitely, like, dust. Not any specific kind of dust, just regular plain old dust. I would have guessed scraped up paint too, but the color would have been gray underneath, not blue. So, dust is the more likely option. I definitely would have preferred if he was clean, since he and Percy are the only ones to have this oddity in these 3-packs. So, yeah, or at least maybe save this one for that load and barrel set. Yeah, I don't know why they have dust on them, but whatever. But yeah, so you got rivets and handrails that he gained in Series 23, even though they're not using the Series 23 renders for reference when designing these toys. They began doing this since they began actually adding the details that the engines got in Series 23 since like 2020, with like the last few push along variants, as well as like the talking motorized engines and a couple of the minis around that time. So this isn't anything new. There's the back. He has a molded tail lamp. They haven't done that since that 2010 set Trackmaster Thomas. Interesting thing about that Thomas is that it had a lot of detail that was exclusive to that at the time and still is. For instance, that was like the only motorized Trackmaster Thomas to actually have depth in between the splashers and the tanks here. And few things that are still exclusive to that Thomas alone are stuff like the bunker curving in at the end, the gaps on his coal bunker here, they have depth, and the same thing with the door. Oh wait, why am I only now realizing that? Okay, never mind, the door actually has depth on this Thomas, so it's no longer just exclusive to that Thomas anymore. Oh god. Count how many times I'm mentioning Thomas in this. So yeah, so that Thomas also had a molded tail lamp. This one is more accurate though. It doesn't have any rear lining, but they haven't done back detailing, at least for most characters who have it since like 2015 or 16. And even if they were consistent with that, Thomas still wouldn't have his rear lining because these are based off of their nitrogen renders, rivets and handrails aside. But yeah, most people have complained about his wheels not being aligned with the splashers, and honestly, I don't really care too much. I mean, be nice if they were, but still, whatever. There's the bottom. And yeah, I think I've ranted actually quite a bit in this. I apologize. Oh god. Yeah, overall, Thomas is really nice, and he's one of my favorites from this new motorized line. I think Percy is the best, and then Thomas and Duck are tied for second, and I'll explain why for when I get my hands on Duck and Percy. But I'm gonna wait for them to arrive in stores first, because I'm not paying that I'm not paying that much money to ship one train over here from the UK, and I'm referring to Duck, because with Percy, I'm waiting to get his 3-pack. One more thing I'll say before I move on to the freight cars is that, unfortunately, I don't have any of the All Engines Go motorized trains. The reason why is because even though they look fine, I wasn't as invested in them as I was with the diecast trains. They looked a lot more nicer to me because they were a lot more proportionate. So I'm not able to compare any of them to the new motorized Thomas. However, I have seen pics, and the All Engines Go motorized Thomas and presumably all the others are just slightly taller than the new ones that we have this year. So yeah, there's that. Alright, here are the Troublesome Trucks. I am so happy that they included Troublesome Trucks in this pack. Not just one, but two. Now they very easily could have included Annie and Clarabelle in this pack, and yeah, well, I would have been fine with that. I'm glad that they actually, chose Troublesome Trucks instead, since that's a common piece of rolling stock that Thomas pulls. So yeah. Now, they both have the same face molds, but they're printed differently, and crate molds are the same too, but they're different colors. So I like that. Very nice. There are sides. Pretty sure the printing is exactly the same. I like the painted panels, and they have, it ain't rust. It's like gravel or rock detailing on their sides, and it's the same kind of detail that the Motorized Paxton from 2021 had as well. So that's interesting. Nothing on the back. Same thing on the side. So yeah. Now I do have one of the original Motorized Troublesome Trucks to compare this to. This is the one from the Roof's Windmill, or the Windmill as they titled it, pack. Now for the Troublesome Trucks here are pretty much like a majority of the rolling stock. They have given them different. They have given them like a different chassis. So yeah, I definitely like the ones here on the new Motorized trucks more. They're a lot more accurate. Like, these were fine, but I definitely prefer these more. Now, here's the thing. They reused the same chassis, running board, whatever, for the tender engines as well. And while it looks fine with the rolling stock, I have a problem with it on the tenders, and I'm going to get to that for when I get onto Gordon. Now, yeah, so the faces, yeah, they're the same mold. They've always been the same mold with these Motorized trucks. They are not necessarily the exact same print. You can see a couple of differences, like the whites on this guy's pupils being a bit bigger, but nothing too major. The grays of the face are also different too. That's interesting. And of course, the colors are different too. This is more similar to like post-Nitrogen era Troublesome Truck colors. This is more similar to the Nitrogen era where I think the Nitrogen like Troublesome Trucks were black. Maybe like a really dark gray. They look black. Some of them were dark gray, I know that. But that's not really important. Glad that they don't have the grit teeth on their goddamn wheels, because like those were hideous. Just defeats the purpose of like wheels with like geared wheels. So yeah, glad that they replaced them with regular ones on here, but Gordon's Express Coach does have them, but it's understandable in his case. Yeah, so I think that's it with these guys. Very, very nice. So definitely the best out of the four in my opinion. And now let's get on to Gordon. So here's the new Motorized Gordon. Oh god, he looks so freaking funny. I brought my old Trackmaster Revolution Gordon out here to compare him to, even though he's customized, but I'm sure you already know what he looked like before, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, so let's look at Gordon himself first. Okay, oh man, okay. Alright, fat face aside, his face, it looks pretty good. It's sort of like a thinking face, like, I wonder if I should kill Thomas or James today. Maybe I should kill Scotsman instead. I don't know, that's not funny. But yeah, it's a pretty good Gordon face. Gordon was probably one of the few, like, Steam Team characters whose face actually looked pretty good in Trackmaster 2. I definitely prefer this one more, but this one's good as well. But yeah, so he doesn't have any lamp irons, unfortunately. There'd barely be any room to, like, put them there. They'd just be, like, little nipples or something on his foot plate. But they were never going to give him lamps because, again, these are based off of their nitrogen renders. So, I'll talk about that in a bit. Oh god. All right. So, I like how he and Scotsman have valve gear pieces molded into their cylinders, as well as these molded leading and trailing wheels. His leading wheels are kind of hard to see though. But yeah, it kind of like his valve gear piece, like it gives me vibes to like some of the old Trackmasters that had like static side rods, like Hank and Murdoch, for example, just because of how they look. Even though, at least with Gordon here, he has like the valve gear piece and the side rods are separate pieces, so his side rods can actually move. So yeah, he definitely has an edge over those guys. But yeah, there's his cab. There's his back. Nothing special, but, makes sense. I know some would have liked it if the tender engines had open cabs, but that was never going to happen. Let's be real. Yeah, but overall, like, Gordon actually does look pretty nice. Comparing him to his Revolution model, let me separate his tender. His original Trackmaster model, details aside, like, he's got the length, of course, because he's shorter, but I do think that this is superior in comparison to his original Trackmaster model. Because, like, of course, I had to paint a lot of these details. He doesn't even have, like, the outlining around his windows. I don't know why they didn't do that on his model. And, like, then his firebox there, it just looks terrible. I don't know. Yeah, these models were not good. I mean, yeah, these have a lot of problems too, but I definitely think this is better than this Revolution model. Yeah, but let's talk about his running board. Now, I know why it's short. The reason why his running board is short is due to how the components are connected. This wasn't prevalent on his Engines Go model, which is why they were able to get away with the longer running board, and the same goes for Scotsman to an extent, as his steam pipes, which are these things right here, his steam pipes are molded into a smoke box instead of a cylinders like Gordon, so, like, it'd be hard for them to, like, give him a longer running board due to how those components are fitted into each other. But yeah, it still doesn't look right though, unfortunately, and it does bring the model down. I'd be intrigued to see, like, of course, if this line does well this year, and they continue making more talking engines, they have no choice. If they make Gordon, they'd have no choice but to, like, give him a longer running board. So, this line does well and he gets a talking model, well, might look better because the running board would be longer, but we'll just have to wait and see for that time to come. So, yeah. Flawed, but he's pretty alright. I already showed this at the start, but here's Gordon next to Thomas, and, like, height-wise, they actually look really good together. That's one of the benefits, or the pluses, with this new motorized range. Like, height-wise, the tank engines and the tender engines are actually pretty good side by side, so yeah. Now, on to his tender. Now, interesting thing about Gordon and James's tenders in this range is that, like, the tender itself, not the running board, they're actually reused from the Talking James and Gordon from they're reused from the 2020 Motorized Talking James and Gordon. Of course, just with different printing. So yeah, that's the reason why they have this this removable coal. I'm not sure if it'll be like that for any other tender engines going forward. Like, if they make Edward, I'm sure it will, because, they can just reuse the same mold. Not sure about Henry, probably. I'm only saying that just because of what they did with Scotsman, even though in his case it makes sense why they didn't give him removable coal. But yeah. I don't mind this feature. I mean, I definitely would have preferred if, like, these holes weren't here, but I understand that it's easier to pick up the coal that way with them. But like you just know that there's gonna be like eBay listings in the future, and the coal piece is just like gone. Now about what I said earlier with the Troublesome Trucks and how they and the tenders reuse the same running board piece now. Whilst with the Troublesome Trucks, it looks good. I have a problem with it being reused on the tender engines. Now, Scotsman's, it looks kind of fine. It looks all right with Scotsman just because of like the width of the buffer beam and the tenders. But Gordon James, like they don't look good, and like either way I don't like the fact that they're reusing the same chassis on the tender engines as they do for the trucks. Now with the original Trackmaster range, now the thing is that when it came to rolling stock, now it's not like that they really reuse the same chassis for the rolling stock as they did for the tender engines, as of course with the tender engines they wouldn't have buffers at the front, whilst with the rolling stock they had it on both ends correctly. But the thing that was incorrect with the rolling stock at the time was the fact that they didn't have running boards. They didn't have running boards on their chassis, even though they do in the show. Well, most of them do. And with the tender engines, the majority of them don't have running boards, like Gordon and James here. Well, James kind of has a running board, but it's like tucked underneath, and the same thing goes for Gordon too. It doesn't look anything like this though, so that's where my problem stems from. And when it came to Trackmaster 2, like by 2016, with Flying Scotsman, in fact, they began giving a lot of those tender engines buffers at the front. And while that was a problem, it was still, I still kind of let it slide, because at least their tenders didn't have running boards like this, if that makes any sense. And yeah, it's kind of hard because I probably have to make this like a separate video of me with like my problems with this. But yeah, and then you come on to this new Motorized range, and like of course I'm glossing over Engines Go because like it was accurate with them to have running boards and buffers on each end. But like here, of course, it's inaccurate, and like they're black too. So yeah, here's definitely more accurate. The buffers are molded onto the tender itself, and then like it's not even, well, the running board's right there, but like the chassis and the springs, they're a separate piece. Doesn't have any buffers on the front. So yeah, definitely prefer this tender more. But yeah, so that's it for the tenders. And of course, sure, plenty of people have pointed out the longer couplings. Now, these were introduced in the Engines Go Motorized line, and this is due to this is to avoid like their like if they're pulling anything and they're going uphill, is to avoid like if they still have the short couplings, then like the taller cabs would like collide with whatever they were pulling behind them. And I understand that. And now I do agree that the longer couplings do look jarring. I don't plan on replacing them though, just because I have no purpose to. I'm not going to be running these on a layout at all. So yeah, that's a problem, but I don't really care about it as much as other people do. So it's whatever for me. Last but not least, depending on who you're asking, is the Express Coach. And I do have a Player one to compare it to. Yeah, so Player one is obviously shorter in height, but it is longer. Makes sense. So yeah, not much of a compare. Well, it's not really much to compare it to because it's just an Express Coach. I do like these more, but I'm fine with this too. It hasn't been too long since we had an Express Coach in Motorized or Trackmaster. The 2020 Talking Gordon had an Express Coach. I didn't like that one too much because it was a repaint of Annie and Clarabelle, just without the faces. And, like, technically this one is too, but it has more accurate windows, so that's why I like this one more. But yeah, so, like I said, it's shorter than their original Trackmaster models, which makes sense. This is about as long as Rolling Stock is able to get now. The tall height is what makes it look a little awkward, but I'm personally fine with that. I'm just happy to have one of these again. Yeah, so now, like I said, the Express Coach is slightly modified from the Origins Go Motorized Annie and Clarabelle. Well, I don't know if modified would be the right word to use. It reuses the same chassis and roof as them, but the coach itself is an entirely new piece. The chassis itself, in fact, is actually reused from the original Motorized Annie and Clarabelle, hence the geared wheels that these have. One thing that's weird about the mold, though, is that when you look at the front, you'll notice that the shape curves inward for whatever reason, and I looked at images of Origins Go, Annie, and Clarabelle, and they don't have that issue. It's straight for them. So, not really sure why this is curved. I guess going back to my statement before, this does confirm that the mold is modified from Annie and Clarabelle, and perhaps so as to avoid the slanted ends they had, they opted to make them curved on the Express Coach instead of making them vertical. I got nothing. As much as I like these new models, not just these, but the rest of the Motorized and diecast trains, the liberties that they take on these new models are weird. And, like, yeah, Thomas Toys have always taken liberties. Nothing's going to be 100% accurate, and I'm fine with that. And I am fine with it here, mostly. And I say that because the weird factor comes from them trying to make the toys more accurate to what came before, ignoring Origins Go, and yet they either do or don't do things that the original merch, despite their many flaws before, had down. I won't go too off, but examples besides the coach shape are stuff like Gordon and James not having lamp irons, the reused Origins Go tender on diecast James, the slanted cabs on diecast Thomas and Percy, Nia not having eyelashes, stuff like that. They don't bring down the models entirely, for me anyway, but I still feel it's notable to bring them up, and even though they look mostly good, I'd wish they look a bit more consistent. Like, why does diecast Percy have a different font for his number when his Motorized model doesn't have that problem? I'm definitely in the vote who think that most of these were designed by different people, because, appearance aside, at least the original push-alongs and Motorized models felt as though they were designed by the same group of people. Alright. Rant end. Overall, the Gordon pack is alright in my opinion. Gordon himself, he's fine, and the same thing goes for the Express Coach too. Like middle of the road, I say. If I were to rank, like, I guess spoiler alert, if I were to rank these, Gordon would be in third, and then Thomas would be in first, and then Scotsman would be behind Thomas, and James would be my least, and I'm about to get into why James is my least favorite, but I'm sure you can guess why. But yeah, he's fine, and yeah, why don't we get on to James, because I've wasted so much time on these guys, it's not funny. Jibs the brains. Oh boy. Alright, James. Alright. Unfortunately, I don't have Trackmaster 2 James to compare him to, or any Trackmaster models. I had one, it's just not on me at the moment. But, oh boy, James. Alright, let's look at him. Alright, so looking at the face, it's a good face. Like Gordon, he was one of the few Steam Team members from the Revolution line whose faces actually looked pretty decent. I think I'd probably say both are like equal. His eyebrows are a bit weirdly shaped though, but they're not too bad, I'd say. Gray running board. There's the side, dome. There's this cab. Shoot. camera's starting to get blurry because it's starting to get dark outside at the time of me recording this. Alright, so James actually does have, like, a partially open cab, which is interesting. I don't really care if they have open cabs or not. Cool, I guess, but it's not like anything special behind it. Yeah, so there's his wheels. He has a molded pony truck right there, which is nice. Alright, so, yeah, details nice. Now, let's get on to, of course, the big problem. Now, the boiler is large. I'm fine with that, because I understand that it's only that way due to the fact that they need to fit all of the components within him. Still doesn't take away from him looking fat as hell. Like, Gordon and Scotsman make sense. They're fat. But James is a skinny, lanky, sexy mofo. But it's nothing new for him. What is a real issue is his cab being too short in length. Now, I would say that this might be because of how he's built, but another plus that his Auntons Go counterpart had was that his cab was longer, so they definitely could have made it longer. I saw a comment from someone on Twitter saying that if they were to make a Talking James, then they would have no choice but to make the cab longer to accommodate the talking feature, and that is true, they would. I can definitely see that happening at some point. And say this for Gordon, so as long as this line does well, then, should be able to get a Talking James down the road. But, yeah, I definitely would have preferred if he was just, like, slightly thinner, or, made him taller, be taller than Gordon and Scotsman. Next to Thomas, like, it is kind of accurate to how they are in the CGI series. I actually like Big James, even though technically he's the only one that's in scale with his model series counterpart. But yeah, he's funky. He's very funky. I don't know what else to say about him, really. Detail's nice, but yeah, he's definitely the worst out of the lot, in my opinion. It's been back and forth between him and Gordon. James, like, at least with Gordon, he's fat. James ain't. And even though they had to make him fat in order to accommodate the stuff in him, it still doesn't look right, in my opinion. Now, on to his tender. Like Gordon, got the removable coal, and once again, this is reused from the 2020 Talking James. Excuse me. Nothing special, once again, and have a problem with them using that running board. But yeah, not much else to say, really, on his tender. Now, on to the tanker. Now the mold itself is fine. I initially thought that the tanker mold was reused from the Auntons Go tanker molds, but after getting a better look of it, I found out that it is a new mold. Nothing special about it, unfortunately. This was supposed to be a milk tanker, as evident by this prototype render, but for some reason they removed the logo, so now it's just a generic white tanker. And I'd be fine with that if it wasn't white of all colors. I'm not sure if that counts as tanker racism, but like, they could have made it like silver or black. I know, most would have preferred black because then you could use it as like a tar tanker, and we all know that James has had experience with tar tankers before, but he's also just pulled tankers before on regular occasions. That's why they gave him one to begin with. I feel like it'd be weird if James's pack was the only one that was directly based on an episode and no one else's was. And before you say, what about Nia with the elephant? I'm not sure on that, because her first Trackmaster pack had an elephant in it too, and that was before Nia and the Unfriendly Elephant came out, so it couldn't have been based on that episode. That's why I'm unsure about the one for this range. But other than that, it's whatever. I take a shot at how many times I repeat that phrase. So as you can see, I didn't have much to say about James, not just because I didn't have anything to compare him to, but just because he's the worst looking model in this range so far, in my opinion. His diecast model definitely looks hella a lot better, but yeah, I don't want to. He's not terrible, but he isn't good. Let's be for real. Detail aside, I understand the reason why for all the liberties they took on his model, but I'm not gonna excuse that from how like I feel about his appearance. So yeah, he ain't good, but I'll cherish him all the same. All right, he's a good boy. I like James. Okay, so yeah, now let's get on to the last one. I could have thrown him at him, but I didn't want to damage him. And here is our final engine for today. The man, the myth, the god apparently in On Just Go's universe. I guess, maybe? I don't know. Flying Scotsman. And I also have his original Trackmaster model to compare him to. Now, Scotsman seems to be a mixed bag amongst people in this range, and I can understand why. But I kind of already told you how I kind of felt about him earlier, but I'll give my full views out in this section of the video. But let's take a look at Flying Scotsman himself. So already he looks better than his Trackmaster model, as it doesn't have those stupid steam clouds on the side, and the green is also more accurate. Another plus is that his running board isn't reused from Gordon's this time, and well, of course, comparing him to Motorized Gordon here, it's actually longer, so he actually looks a bit more proper. Yeah. Very interesting that they made Scotsman. Same thing goes for Duck 2 as one of the first engines for this range. And I guess I could add Henry too, which I guess sounds like an insult, but not really. I mean, yeah, Scotsman was in Trackmaster Revolution, and they had him when it was rebranded to Motorized, and like the only difference there was the axles or spring, not axles, the this part here being left unpainted for whatever reason. But yeah, very interesting that he's one of the first characters that they borrowed to have in this revamped Motorized line, but I ain't complaining. Yeah. Very nice. Now we're going to compare him to his original Trackmaster model. Unlike with Gordon, I customized this one, so it's going to be a bit weird, but hopefully not too much. You should know what he looks like if you're looking at an image, or if you have. You should know what he looks like uncustomized, but yeah, so here are the faces. He has the same face, well, I don't want to say half wink, because it's just his mouth cocked to the side that's pushing his cheeks to making his eye half open. It's like that for anyone if you do that, so it's not really a half wink, it's just a regular smirk or coy expression, whichever you prefer. But anyway, it's the same face he has on his Trackmaster model. I like it, but here not only are his pupils a little too close together, but his face looks smashed. Like, hang on. Like, if you took your fist and punched him, and that was the imprint left on his face. I'm sure it has something to do with his smoke deflectors, which also is the reason why his boiler is thinner than Gordon's, even though his was massive in comparison in the series. But yeah, and like the cross-eyed expression, or cross-eyed, is also a similar problem with Thomas in the Launch and Barrel set, but I don't really think it'd be fair to say his looks better. I don't know. It's about the same, I guess, but yeah. I do think it looks better on a Trackmaster model, though. So, now this one's running board was black, even though it was supposed to be red, so I had to paint that. Now, the cylinders, Scotsman cylinders are like a very dark green, and they are on his original Trackmaster. It's a bit hard to tell on camera, especially with the lighting currently because the sun's setting. His running board itself is also dark green, even though that's actually supposed to be black. It's only the cylinders that are that dark green color. And, well, here, well, they're the same green as the rest of him, which I'm fine about, but I was just pointing that out. Of course, since the running board is actually a unique piece this time, his buffers are circular instead of oval-shaped, which is accurate. He also doesn't have any lamp irons, which is accurate also. However, I would have appreciated it if they had given him headlamps. I don't know why they only gave headlamps to Thomas, Percy, and Nia. Like, James and Gordon make sense because they're based off of their nitrogen renders, like I said before, but they could have done it for Duck and Scotsman since their CGI renders had headlamps from the start, so yeah, I don't know why they made the exception with them. And, like, speaking of that, Scotsman's tenders also don't have tail lamps, unlike his Trackmaster model, which does, so it's also another plus on this guy's part. I also notice Trackmaster has a molded whistle, unlike this one, so that's another plus. I don't really know what else to really compare these guys to. Or, I don't know what else to compare, really. Quality, I just noticed, like, the quality control on my Scotsman is actually pretty bad. Like, his eyebrows faded over there. And I also noticed this when I took him out of packaging. This is misprinted, so, yeah, I mean, it's been like that for years, so with Mattel, the quality control is pretty inconsistent, but, yeah, overall, they both have things that, one or the other has or don't, whatever, I don't know. I do think that this Scotsman is better, though. Slightly better. So, yeah, but now let's get on to the tenders. Here are Scotsman's tenders, coal and water tenders to be exact. Nothing on the back, unfortunately. There are only tenders that actually look alright with the new rolling stock running board, only because they're about the same width as it. So would have preferred they didn't have buffers at the front, but that was a problem with the original Trackmaster. So yeah, these look pretty nice. I know just about everyone has had a problem with Scotsman's tenders because they're very short in comparison to Scotsman himself. And I understand why. Like, they could have made them taller. However, I think they'd honestly look weirder if they were, just due to the fact that they're rectangles. Like, with Gordon and James, it looks fine with their tenders being taller. But with Scotsman, I feel like if they were to make his tenders longer, they'd be better off making them longer as well. But obviously, they're not going to do that. They can't make, like, tenders as long as rolling stock. This is about as long as they're able to get now, like I said. So, obviously, they aren't going to do the same for the tenders, so they're better off just being this way, and I'm honestly fine with it. I don't care all that much, if at all, really. So, yeah. Believe it or not, the tenders aren't actually reused from his Trackmaster model. I've seen a lot of people saying that they are, but they're not. They might have been modified, I don't know, but they're not the same mold. For one thing, these black parts on his tenders are actually separate pieces this time. They were just one complete, like, this whole thing was one piece before on his Trackmaster tenders. And another thing is that they're actually black this time. With these, well, I only had to paint this part of his coal tender black, but it was green before. Well, technically these are still the wrong color. These should be a dark shade of green, not black, but that doesn't matter to me. Then I already pointed out the fact that they don't have tail lamps. The buffers were also, yeah, this was, like, apart from the chassis and the wheels, this is all one piece. And this has, like, 3 pieces stuck to it, if that makes any sense. 3 pieces. And also slightly different shapes as well. I don't really think I had to point out any further differences between the two. You should be able to dissect them. Funnily enough, one thing that the Motorized tenders improves on from Scotsman's show model is correcting the Fowler tender lining that he had, despite his tenders not being Fowler tenders. That never irked me as much as it did for most people. I mean, I really didn't care about a lot of the problems that the CGI renders had. I mean, Duncan's CGI design is my favorite design of his, but that's not the topic for today. But I do agree that it looks better this way than it does this. I think when comparing just the tenders, I consider them equals. The older tenders look more accurate in terms of detail and appearance, but the newer ones have the more accurate shade of green and absence of steam clouds. Plus, more proper lining if you want to go further. Scotsman as a whole, I think, is pretty alright. Dare I say good. And definitely the best tender engine out of the range so far. Do I think he's better than his Trackmaster toy? Nearly. And I only say that because they both have their pluses and minuses. One might have more detail than the other. I think his Trackmaster toy is slightly more accurate to his CGI model than his Motorized, but I do think that his Motorized toy looks a smidge better than his Trackmaster toy. Like, short tenders aside. But that's just me. Take it that way you will. I do still like them, both in their own way, even with his silly steam clouds and tiny tenders. So yeah. And those were my thoughts on the new Motorized line. I didn't think this video would be this long. I think I finally figured out that ranting about toy trains is like a trigger for me. Oh, that's horrible. I'm sorry. Yeah, so if you made it through this entire video, thank you. So yeah, but like my thoughts on these, like the entire range, pretty good, even if, you know, there's still flaws like with the tender engines, but like I do think that we're in a step in the right direction with the Motorized trains, and I can't wait to get my hands on other ones. I'm gonna wait. I heard from someone that like the classic Percy and Nia 3-packs should be like arriving to the States by like September or so. I don't know about the 2-packs, but like for when those come, I don't know when. I'm definitely gonna get Duck. If they come before the Percy and Nia 3-packs come out, I'm still gonna wait to get them because I don't want to get doubles. So yeah, but you know, you'll know when that happens. For the diecast trains, I don't think it should be too long for the Metal Collection Thomas and Percy to like widespread around the US. I'd give it like another week or two, at least before the end of July. Not sure about James and Henry either, but I just have to wait and see. So yeah, see reviews on that soon for when I get my hands on them. But yeah, so I rank these again on like which one is like from best to worst. So Thomas is the best, and Scotsman second, third, fourth. Sorry, James, but yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed, and that's all, folks. Bada.